Imagine stepping up to a drum kit,
Hmm.
right? You pick up a drumstick and you strike a snare drum. But this drum is made of like 99% air.
Right, which is hard to even picture.
Yeah. You hit it, but instead of this loud, sharp crack that you'd expect, the impact produces this muffled, sort of ethereal sound.
Uh-huh.
And the echo doesn't fade out naturally. It actually evolves backward in time, like collapsing in on itself.
Which just completely breaks your brain when you first hear about it.
Exactly. And today, we're looking at a stack of sources that suggest this isn't just some, sci-fi thought experiment.
Hmm.
We are diving into this deep dive today, specifically looking at a design catalog called the Future Instrument Project.
Yeah, and alongside that, we have this incredibly deep philosophical dialogue between a composer and an AI, all about the evolutionary trajectory of music.
Right, and the core premise here, for you listening, it just completely shatters how we think about sound.
It really does. Because, we rely so heavily on the comforting expectation of physical reality when it comes to music.
Oh, for sure. Cause and effect.
Exactly. You pluck a tension guitar string, the vibration resonates inside a wooden cavity, and the resulting sound is entirely dictated by the laws of acoustics.
Right. It's predictable.
Yeah, it's grounded in the materials we actually have here on Earth. But the creators of the Future Instrument Project, they asked a completely different question. They asked, well, what happens when we stop being limited by earthly materials?
Okay, let's unpack this. Because, what happens when humans stop using AI to simply mimic old genres? Like, asking a machine to write a catchy pop song.
Right, which is what everyone is doing right now.
Yeah. What happens when we stop doing that and instead use it to invent impossible acoustic physics?
Well, to understand the future of music, we first have to understand the literal materials it will be made of.
Okay.
The creators of this project utilize what they call a material-first workflow. So they didn't use AI to, sequence MIDI notes or generate a synthesizer preset.
So what were they doing with it then?
They treated the AI as a high-dimension particle physics simulator. Yeah. They tasked it with calculating the collision of waveforms in materials that do not, and honestly cannot, exist in our universe.
That is just, the catalog refers to these creations as entirely new sonic species.
Yes.
And the examples they provide are staggering. Like, let's look at the track called Inverse Geometry.
Oh, that one is fascinating.
Yeah, so they designed a metamaterial siren with negative refractive indices.
Right.
Now, for you listening, to visualize a refractive index, just think of looking at a straw resting in a glass of water.
Classic science class example.
Exactly. The water bends the light, so the straw looks disjointed. But a negative refractive index means the material bends waves in the opposite, completely counterintuitive direction.
And applying that to acoustic physics creates something entirely alien.
How so? Like, what does that actually sound like?
Well, in the real world, when a sound wave hits a surface, it scatters and decays outward, right?
It's just like a normal echo.
Exactly. But by simulating a negative refractive index, the AI calculates an environment where the sound waves bend inward.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, the source describes these as backward evolving echoes.
Uh-huh.
And the overtones, those higher frequencies that give a sound its character, they don't behave normally at all.
They sort of collapse.
Yeah, they bend in ways that defy three-dimensional space. It creates this unsettling, impossible sonic geometry that feels like the sound is arriving from the future rather than echoing from the past.
Arriving from the future. That is so wild. And then, okay, there is the solid smoke impact.
Yes, the drum kit.
Right, this is that drum kit we were talking about at the start. They designed a percussion set out of aerogel. And, aerogel is real. It's that ultra-low density material.
Right, it's super light.
Yeah, but the AI simulates what happens when you strike it with extreme force. The physics engine calculates the friction of a sound wave trying to travel through a solid that is, almost entirely lacking mass.
And the result is that fragile, weightless impact that leaves a ghost-like echo.
Yeah, exactly.
What's fascinating here is the historical precedent this sets. Because if you look back at the timeline of music, new instruments are the true catalysts for new genres.
Oh, always.
Right. Like when the amplifier was paired with a solid block of wood, it didn't just give us a louder acoustic guitar.
No, it gave us the electric guitar.
Exactly. Which birthed rock and roll and fundamentally changed youth culture.
The technology literally dictated the aesthetic. And it's the same with the sampler in the 1980s.
Oh, completely.
Taking a piece of recorded tape and turning it into a playable drum pad that birthed hip-hop. It turned existing nostalgia into percussion. It's like we've spent centuries writing recipes with the same 5 ingredients, and suddenly we've discovered a way to synthesize a vegetable that only exists in the 5th dimension.
That is a perfect way to put it. By partnering with AI to simulate these impossible materials, artists are essentially prototyping entirely new genres today before a single physical object is even built. The physics of that solid smoke impact will inevitably dictate a genre of music that feels incredibly fragile and spacious, something we just can't fully conceptualize using standard instruments.
But wait, if the artist is using a high-dimension simulator to invent these physics, they aren't really like playing a keyboard or strumming a chord anymore, right?
No, not at all.
So this completely transforms the role of the human artist.
It absolutely does. And the philosophical dialogue in our sources spends a lot of time on this transition. The composer and the AI discuss this concept of AI being a rearview mirror.
The rearview mirror.
Yeah. By definition, a machine learning model is bound by the gravity of precedent. It trains on historical data.
Right, it only knows what's already happened.
Exactly. So left to its own devices, a purely pattern-driven system in the year 1908 wouldn't have spontaneously invented the Ford Model T.
Right.
It would have analyzed all available transportation data and suggested, like, a more aerodynamic horseshoe, or perhaps a subscription service for better oats.
A subscription service for oats. That's hilarious, but so true. It just maps well-trodden roads and predicts the most statistically likely next step.
Precisely, and the statistically likely outcome is the exact opposite of art.
Right, because art is usually the anomaly. It's the leap.
And that leap requires human defiance. The sources call this new division of labor creative symbiosis.
Creative symbiosis, okay.
Yeah, so the AI provides the computational power to simulate, say, a negative refractive index, but the human partner provides the creative friction.
Okay, let me push back on that for a second.
Sure.
If the machine is the entity calculating the physics, mapping the overtones, and actually rendering the audio file,
Right.
what is the human actually doing? Are we just glorified prompt engineers typing, make it sound cool into a text box? Because, I mean, that feels like human obsolescence.
Yeah, and that is a common fear when people look at early generative AI, but the sources explicitly outline why human input remains dominant here.
Okay, how so?
The human acts as a biological architect. You aren't just typing a prompt, you are providing the conceptual DNA. You decide what rules to break.
Because the AI doesn't know what rules matter.
Exactly. An AI doesn't have a nervous system. It has statistics. It doesn't know that a fragile aerogel echo sounds emotionally devastating. It just sees the math.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
The human biological architect hears that anomaly, recognizes the emotional resonance, and decides to build an entire sonic world around it.
So the friction comes from the human demanding a conflicting, weird, or outside-the-box parameter that forces the AI out of its predictive loop.
Yes.
We basically decide when wrong actually sounds interesting.
That's exactly it. The creator shifts from performing fixed notes in real time to designing complex behaviors.
Yeah.
You build the physics, you set the parameters of how the sound reacts, and you define the emotional goal.
And the AI is just the lab where it happens.
Right. The AI acts as the laboratory where those structures are synthesized.
Man, so if the artist is now designing behaviors in physics instead of recording a final static performance, then the end product isn't like an MP3 file anymore.
No, not at all.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because the music itself is transforming from an object into a living system.
It is. The sources map out a near-future horizon, roughly 5 to 20 years out, which they call the adaptive era.
The adaptive era.
Yeah, and this marks the dissolution of the song as a fixed object. We are shifting toward procedural music system,
Procedural music.
like in video games.
Exactly like that. Think of it like the difference between watching a movie on a DVD and walking through an open-world video game.
Okay.
On a DVD, the frames are locked. It will always be exactly the same every time you hit play.
Yeah.
But in the video game, the environment renders in real time based on where you choose to look and how you interact with it.
Instead of a composer writing a standard 4-minute track, they write a rule set, they build an audio engine.
Precisely.
The music becomes more like the weather than a recording. It subtly shifts every time you experience it. And it moves far beyond just random variations, too. In this adaptive era, the sources detail the rise of biofeedback music.
Biofeedback.
Yeah, this is where the structural paradigm completely flips. Music transitions from something you listen to into something that actively listens back to you.
Meaning the system takes real-time physiological inputs.
Exactly. It can pull data from a smartwatch or biometric sensors, your heart rate, your breathing patterns, your stress levels, even the physical motion of your body in space.
Wow.
And the procedural engine uses those inputs to dynamically alter the audio output. It's literally mapping your physiology to acoustic parameters.
Okay, I need to stop you there because I know you listening might be skeptical right now.
Fair enough.
Is this just an advanced Spotify algorithm? Like the system detects my heart rate is high, so it stops playing heavy metal and just shuffles over to a chill acoustic playlist?
No, it is a fundamentally different architecture. A playlist shuffles existing frozen audio files. Biofeedback music is a single, continuous audio environment that physically alters its own internal structure in real time.
Great, really?
Yeah. Let's say your breathing is shallow and panicked. The engine doesn't change the song. It actually morphs the tempo of the current track, shifts the harmonic structure into a more resonant key, and softens the sonic density.
Oh, wow.
It continuously adapts its physics to guide your physiology back to a baseline.
So it creates a closed interactive loop between your nervous system and the audio engine.
Exactly.
The track isn't finished until you are actively listening to it because your body is half of the compositional data.
Which totally reframes the utility of music.
Mm.
If a procedural engine can adapt infinitely to the individual in real time, it changes the entire fabric of how we use sound.
And this naturally ripples out into our culture. I mean, if music adapts to the individual, we kind of lose the monoculture, right?
Oh, definitely.
The sources predict this will trigger a microgenre explosion. Instead of thousands of broad genres like pop or jazz, we will have millions of hyper-specific sonic ecosystems. Like, you might have a genre that only exists for a single community, or a procedural engine tailored exclusively for the changing seasons in one specific geographic valley.
And this specific point is deeply relevant if you are interested in the future of education, therapy, or community building.
Yeah, the odd AI concept.
Right. The documents outline this conceptual framework called odd AI, which represents a shift toward functional audio architecture.
Functional audio.
Yeah, the creators behind odd AI aren't asking, what song should we make to entertain people? They're asking, what cognitive or emotional state should this environment engineer?
Right, so they use embedded frequencies and structural morphing as a tool.
Yeah.
The texts describe personalized sonic prescriptions.
Which admittedly sounds a bit clinical.
It does sound clinical, like medicine.
But it implies precision. You wouldn't just throw on background music. A student might use a specific focus protocol procedural track. The audio engine monitors their cognitive load via biometric feedback. And if they start to lose focus, the ambient harmonic frequency subtly shifts to induce alpha brainwaves.
Seriously.
Yeah, naturally pulling them back into a flow state without them even noticing the music changed.
That is incredible. Or like a recovery protocol for physical therapy that maps the tension in your muscles and uses acoustic resonance to literally massage the nervous system.
Exactly. But this does raise an important question.
Yeah.
If everyone is walking around enclosed in their own personalized sonic prescription, perfectly dialed into their own specific heart rate and cognitive needs.
Doesn't that fundamentally destroy the shared cultural experience of music?
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like a dystopian scenario where we're all walking around in completely isolated, algorithmically optimized bubbles.
And the authors anticipate that exact critique.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Their counter movement to this isolation is what they call collective synchronization events.
Collective synchronization events. Okay.
Right. We don't just have to map a procedural engine to one person. Imagine a fourth grade classroom in the future. The students aren't sitting at their desks wearing personalized headphones.
Okay, good.
The room itself is running an odd AI protocol. The environmental audio is aggregating the biometric data of all 20 students and the teacher simultaneously.
Oh, so the entire group experiences a shared nervous system event.
Yes.
The room senses like the collective post-lunch fatigue at 2:00 p.m. and subtly shifts the acoustic environment to elevate the group's energy.
Exactly. Or imagine a community gathering functioning as a localized swarm of shared emotional input, generating a single living organism of sound that binds everyone in the room together.
So what does this all mean? It means the music classroom of tomorrow won't merely teach a student how to read sheet music or, perform a C major scale.
No.
It will teach them how to engineer an emotional environment. It will teach them how to design soundscapes that synchronize the nervous systems of a crowd.
Which pushes music back to its oldest historical roots.
Right, communal ritual and medicine.
Yes, but at a scale and with a technological precision that has never existed before.
And if we take that concept of a synchronized room and scale it up even further, we reach the ultimate conclusion of this deep dive. We transition from a single classroom into music evolving into a literal physical habitat.
The sources describe a deep future era looking 20 to 50 years ahead, defined by the TATANKA biome and the symbiotic arts.
Okay, let's clearly define that TATANKA biome concept, because the terminology in the source is pretty dense.
It is. In the text, the TATANKA biome serves as a conceptual framework for a fully integrated bioacoustic ecosystem.
Okay.
It's an era where the boundary between natural landscapes, architecture, and procedural audio engines dissolves completely.
Wow.
Music stops being a product you consume, like an album you stream or a concert you attend for 2 hours, and becomes a continuous environment you inhabit.
And the foundational element of this biome is something the sources call the sentient venue. And we aren't speaking metaphorically here.
No, not at all.
We are talking about physical spaces imbued with sensor arrays and procedural audio engines that respond dynamically to the presence of people, the local weather patterns, and the collective mood of the crowd.
A building that actually composes.
Yeah.
A public park or forest that harmonizes with the wind speed and the foot traffic of the people walking through it. The architecture of the space listens to you, processes your presence through a procedural engine, and sings back.
The container for human creativity is just expanding so much. The historical framing provided in these documents illustrates this beautifully.
It really does.
If you map out how the container for music has evolved over centuries, first the container was the church, which gave us the structure of the choir.
Yeah.
Then the container expanded to the concert hall, which birthed the symphony.
And then technology shifted the container to the recording studio, which gave us the album.
Right.
The invention of the internet gave us streaming. And next, according to this framework, the biome gives us living culture. It's an architectural and environmental revolution, not just a sonic one.
When you zoom out and view it as an environmental shift, the sources suggest that music eventually becomes civilization infrastructure.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about urban planning.
Okay.
Cities could use embedded adaptive sound environments as a subtle governance and coordination system.
Like manipulating the crowd.
Sort of. They wouldn't use sound for entertainment, but as localized biofeedback at a macro scale.
Right.
Procedural audio could be utilized to regulate urban stress in high-density areas, smooth out traffic patterns by unconsciously altering the walking pace of pedestrians,
Which is crazy to think about.
improve public health outcomes, and foster social cohesion. Music literally becomes the autonomic nervous system for the city.
Treating the metropolis as a single collective organism.
Yes. And the overarching term the sources use to describe this future era is the symbiotic arts.
Symbiotic arts.
It is a creative movement where humans and artificial intelligences do not compete, but rather evolve artistic forms together in a mutually shaping relationship.
So it entirely bypasses the anxiety of machine replacement.
Exactly. The human provides the biological intent, the machine provides the impossible physics, and together they cohabitate inside a living acoustic ecosystem.
It is a massive intellectual leap from where we are today. Let's quickly trace the journey we just took through these sources.
Sure.
We started at the microscopic level in the laboratory, forging impossible acoustic materials like solid smoke and backwards echoing metamaterials, using AI as a high-dimension physics simulator.
Right.
Then we explored how the artist's role shifts from a performer of static notes into a biological architect providing creative friction.
And from that friction, we witnessed the dissolution of the recorded song, replaced by infinite procedural biofeedback systems that create an interactive loop with our own physiology.
And finally, we scaled that up, imagining a future where those living systems decentralize into microgenres, synchronize our classrooms, and eventually evolve into the sentient bioacoustic infrastructure of our cities.
If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, remember that you are living through the foundational stages of this transition right now. You are witnessing the shift from music as a static object to music as an adaptive process, from passive performance to active biological participation. The rule sets for the symbiotic arts are being engineered today.
It fundamentally rewires our relationship to sound and space. But, as I think about this perfectly synchronized adaptive future, well, it leaves me with one final, slightly unsettling thought.
Oh.
Yeah, something for you to ponder on your own after we wrap up here. If our entire world, our classrooms, our public parks, our city streets, and our homes becomes a continuous, sentient musical environment, constantly regulating our moods and harmonizing with our physiology,
Right.
what happens to silence? In the highly engineered future of the symbiotic arts, will true, uncalculated silence become the rarest and most terrifying experience of all? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.